Hello. Last week I didn't put any videos out, but I thought I'll restart it. And in this series, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up passages from or questions from CAT 2020 slot 1, slot 2, slot 3 and discuss those. There has been a request from a lot of students to do this, so hence I'm doing it. So I'll start with one passage here. This is the first passage. It's about on writing. These are 5 questions and 504 words. In general, when you look at any passage, so you have got a passage followed by a question, and the question has got these 4 answer choices, or let's say options. One of the things that people tend to say a lot, which I've heard a lot, is that this passage is difficult or passage is easy. I basically have failed to understand what that really means, because the difficulty is with respect to the question. It's a question and not even question. In reading comprehension, it's options that makes something difficult or easy. So you have a passage wherein you might have there are 5 questions. There might be 3 questions which are easy to handle and 2 questions which are maybe difficult, and that difficulty comes with how the options are framed. One thing that we tend to do is that when we read a passage, we would want to solve all the 5 questions. That is not needed. What I've seen in the CAT over the years is that if you read and understand the passage, there is usually 6 marks to 9 marks for the taking. Usually about 2 to 3 questions, it's pretty manageable. And there might be one question which is moderate level difficulty, one question which is tough. But that toughness or difficult level of the question comes from the options. So what you want to do is that, of course, you have to read the passage first and then go to the question. There are some of you go to the question first and then read the passage, but the question is not what makes things difficult, it's options. And anyway, whatever the answer choice, whatever the correct answer choice, information is there in the passage. And I don't want to read the question twice, first the question, then the passage, come back to the question. I'll read the question later. Secondly, when I'm reading the passage, I would want to read every single passage in the same style. And therefore I don't want my reading be dependent on how the questions are framed. Once I read a passage, I want to understand a couple of things. The first thing I want to understand is the purpose as to why author wrote it. What is author's agenda? The second thing that I want to look at is the logical structure of the passage, or what I'm going to call a passage map. A passage map simply means that the passage has got multiple paragraphs. What is the main or the controlling idea of each of this paragraph, and how are these controlling ideas connected together to create the overall structure of the particular passage. And one of these controlling idea would be the main idea of the particular passage. It can be in paragraph number 1 or paragraph number 2 or 3. So usually paragraph number 1 or paragraph number 2. Once I understand that, I go to the question, and then I would want to read the 4 answer choices. A few things will happen. Either I can say I'm going to pick. Some answer choice may say that pick me because I remember I've read the passage and this is very obvious. In some cases that does not happen. Therefore you tend to eliminate the answer choice, which is using ditch me. And you're hoping that I can eliminate 3 answer choice and get 1 right. Or either 1 answer choice talks to me and I'll mark and move on. Now there might be a situation where that does not happen. Or maybe I'm confused with 2 answer choice. Then couple of things you could do. One is, I know how to resolve this confusion. I probably will have to go back to the passage, and I know where to go to the passage to resolve that particular confusion that I'm having. If that happens, then I'll go back to the passage. But if the situation I don't know where to go to the passage, which portion it's mentioned, I don't know where to look at that particular information, and then there is no way I'm going to go back to the passage. I'll say that this is going to leave unresolved. I'll just skip the question and move to the next one. And for you to save time, you can't save time by reading the passage fast or reading the option fast or the question fast. You can save time by skipping when you're confused with the question. The moment you're confused, skip and move to the next one. Or you could say, I'll come back to it later. That's the best approach according to me when it comes to reading comprehension for the CAT. So let's see that in action in this particular passage. This passage has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraph. What I want to understand is the controlling idea of each of these particular paragraph. Once I understand the controlling idea of each of this paragraph, I'll try and connect those ideas together and see what the paragraph mapping is. And I really don't have to write this down. So you could, if the passage is very tough and you want to take quick notes of it, and that is you don't want to write sentences, maybe about a couple of words capturing information, or you need not write them as well. So a controlling idea would be one of the sentences in this particular paragraph. That sentence is my controlling idea. But what is that sentence? I am interested in noting down the claim that the author is making, and some of the sentences might be used to justify the particular claim or giving some examples. I'm interested in the claim. So let's read this first paragraph and see how we can identify the controlling idea of paragraph number 1. Vocabulary used in speech or writing organizes itself in 7 parts of speech. 8 if you count interjunctions such as oh and gosh and whatever that word is. So that seems to be a statement of fact. So when you look at vocabulary, there are 7 parts of speech, or maybe 8. Communication composed of these parts of speech must be. So now I see this word must be. Now I like these kind of words. I'm interested in these words because here where the author is saying that something must be done, something should be done, I'm interested. Must be organized by rules of grammar upon which we agree. When these rules break down, confusion and misunderstanding result. Bad grammar produces bad sentences. That is a claim that author is making. Bad grammar produces bad sentences, and the next is author has given an example for that. And even if, let's say, you don't understand the example here, which says Strunk and White, my favorite example from Strunk and White is the one as mother of 5 with another one on the way, my ironing board is always up. You may not have to break your head as to what the problem in this particular sentence is. You just need to understand the point that author wants to make in paragraph number 1 is that bad grammar creates bad sentences. So the author is someone who is suggesting the reader that follow rules of grammar. And of course, once author has made the claim that bad grammar produces bad sentences, the next thing that the author would do is likely going to justify that particular claim that author has made. Let's look at paragraph number 2. This says that nouns and verbs are 2 indispensable parts of writing. They must be there. Without one of each, no group of words can be a sentence, since a sentence by definition is a group of words containing a subject, noun and a predicate verb. These strings of words begin with a capital letter, end with a period, and combine to make a complete thought which starts in the writer's head and then leaps to the reader. And what is key here, ladies and gentlemen, is that nouns and verbs are 2 indispensable parts of writing, and the rest of the sentence is author justifying that. So I'm putting the rest of the sentence green signal in the sense that it's that author is justifying the rest of things. So what I know from paragraph number 2 is that noun plus verb are integral part of writing. That's what author says in paragraph number 2. Let's look at paragraph number 3. Must you write complete sentences each time, every time? Should you write complete sentences each time, every time? Perish the thought. If your work consists only of fragments and floating clauses, the grammar police aren't going to come and take you away. Even William Strunk, that Mussolini of rhetoric, recognized a delicious pliability of language. Pliability would be flexibility of language. Language is flexible. It's an old observation, he writes, that the best writers sometimes disregard the rules of rhetoric. And this word is important, yet he goes on to add this thought, which I urge you to consider. Author is urging you to consider, urging us to consider. Unless he is certain of doing well, the writer will probably do to best to follow the rule. So the question is that can you forgo the rules? Right? Can you disregard the rules? The question being asked here is that can you disregard the rules? Author is giving is a condition. Unless he is certain of doing well. If you're saying that okay, if you know what you're doing, then it's fine. Otherwise, just follow the rules. The telling clause here is unless he is certain of doing well. The author is now continuing that thought there and saying that what is important is to understand unless is certain of doing well. If you don't have a rudimentary grasp of how the parts of speech translate into coherent sentences, how can you be certain that you are doing well? How will you know if you are doing ill for that matter? The answer, of course, is that you can't, you won't, you have to know the rules to break the rules. One who does grasp the rudiments of grammar finds a comforting simplicity at his heart, where there need be only nouns, the words, the names, and verbs, the words that act. Take any noun, put any verb, and you have a sentence. It never fails. Rocks explode, Jane transpires, mountain flowed. For you to create this the rule, you must know the rules. If you don't know the rules, then what is the point? So what is so far, I think that is very clear. The author is urging us that you must know rules. Bad grammar creates bad sentences. Even if you want to change, there is flexibility. Even if you want to change and break those rules, you must know the rule. And you have a solid reason as to why you are breaking that particular rule. Don't do random things. These are all perfect sentences. Many such thoughts make little rational sense, but even the stranger one, plums defy, have a poetic weight that's nice. The simplicity of noun verb construction is useful. At the very least, it can provide a safety net for your writing. So I was saying that keep it simple. It is very useful. It's useful. Strong and wide caution. So another word, caution against too many simple sentences in a row. But simple sentences provide a path you can follow when you fear getting lost in the tangles of rhetoric. All those restrictive and non-restrictive clauses, those modifying phrases, those appositives, and complex compound complex sentences. So here author is now saying that so noun and the simplicity is good, but don't make it too simple in the sense. I think that don't have too many simple sentences in a row. If you start to freak out at the sight of such unmapped territory, unmapped by you at least, just remind yourself that rocks explode, Jane transferred, mountain flowed. Author is basically saying that if the rules are very complex and if you don't understand all that, at least ensure that you start with the basic sentence where you follow simple rules. Grammar is the pole you grab to get your thoughts up on the feet and walking. That's again author is saying that grammar is important. So the entire passage, author is urging the reader, probably the reader is someone who is looking at writing something. Author is giving advice that bad grammar creates bad sentences. If you look at the entire passage map, which is the main point? If you look at paragraph number 2, author is getting into detailed discussion. The point that the author wants to make is in paragraph number 1, which says that this bad grammar creates bad sentences, and author details it out. Nouns and verbs are important, indispensable. You can break the rules, but if you should know the rules for you to break the rules. And then if you are confused with all these rules, at least start small. Keep it simple, but just follow the grammatical rules. That's it. So this is understanding that you must have when you read a passage. And you can do all the thought that I'm saying in about 3 minutes or maybe 4 minutes. Now the key is not to get stuck in questions. Now you have got question number 1. People are afraid of this statement, which is inferring. The moment you have inferring, you go saying, oh, I'll not be able to solve this. No. Please understand, whatever is your right answer choice must be true based on what the passage has revealed to you. So don't be worried about words like inference and this and that. Just don't be worried. You know that whatever is our right answer must be true based on the information that is given in the passage. This point, inferring from the passage, the author could be most supportive of which of the following practices. We know what the author would be supportive about. Good grammar, something that helps people in improving their grammar. That is what author would be supportive. And answer choice number 1 said the critique of standardized rules. Why would the author say that you must be, let's do critique of standardized rule, let's attack the standardized rule, let's criticize the standardized rule? No. A campaign demanding that writers' creative license should allow the breaking of grammatical rules. No. This is the availability of language software that will standardize the rules of grammar as an aid to writers. If it helps the writers standardizing the rules of grammar, it will be anything that the author will support. Answer choice 3 is probably for most of us, for many of you, let me put it that way, would be a pick me. If an answer choice tells you to pick me, you pick it and move on. Don't do over analysis. Right? Sometimes what happens is that when the answer choice is telling you, say no, I have to sit down to analysis. Just pick it and move on because you've read the passage. If you have comprehended the passage, chances are that whatever is your pick me would be the right answer choice. If that is not the case, then of course there is a problem with your comprehension of the particular passage. Even if you look at answer choice number 4, a creative writing course that focus on how to avoid the use of rhetoric. Why would the author say? Author is someone who is very pro rhetoric. And even if you want to break the rhetoric, you should know the rules of grammar. So answer choice is definitely 3. Let's look at question number 1. Which of the following quotes best captures the main concern of the passage? This one. Bad grammar produces bad sentences. That's the main concern. Grammar in general needs to be followed. Rules of grammar must be followed. If you look at other answer choices, the telling clause here is unless. This is a very specific detail that the author has mentioned. Is not the main concern of the passage. Right, so this is not the author's main concern. Author's main concern is not that unless you are certain of doing well, you can break the rules. That's not the main point the author is making. Nouns and verbs are two integral part of writing. This is used as a supporting statement to the claim that bad grammar produces bad sentences, because nouns and verbs are indivisible. You must know the rules of grammar, otherwise you'll create wrong bad sentences. Stung and White caution against too many simple sentences in a row. This is not the main concern. The question is about what is the main concern of the passage. What is the main point? What is the broad idea of the particular passage? The broad idea of the particular passage is this. Let's look at question number 3. This would be an interesting question, the kind of question that you might get confused. If that happens, just leave it. If you're confused with the options, leave it. If the option tells you pick me, pick it. If some of the answer choice you can ditch, you ditch it. If you've ditched 3 answer choices, if you're left with one, you mark it. But if you're confused, don't try to resolve the confusion. Just move to the next question. You've got a lot of questions, 26 for that matter. It doesn't matter from where you're getting the marks from. Don't get stuck in one particular question. That's very important. Let's look at this. This says take any noun, put it with any verb, and you have a sentence. It never fails. Rocks explode, teen stands when mountain float. None of the following statement can be seen similar except. None can be seen similar except. This itself, the way in which the question is phrased, you almost give why. None of the following can be seen as similar except, which means you're looking at something that is similar. Right. That is similar. So that's the answer choice you're looking at. Right. So therefore, in this kind of question, let's sort of anticipate what the answer is. Noun alone may not make sense. Verb alone may not make sense. But if you combine these two together, it starts making sense. So you're looking at something alone does not make sense, something alone, but you combine together. And these are also something that is necessary things. These are indispensable. These are necessary. Take an apple tree, plant it in a field, and you have an orchard. No, apple tree is not necessary. An orchard is a place where it's a land where you have trees. That's what orchard is. Plant in a field, and then you have an orchard. So you probably want to keep it on hold. This does not seem necessary as a condition. A collection of people with the same sports equipment in a sport team. Where is the necessary connection between noun and verb that is happening here? A group of nouns arranged in a row to form a sentence. A group of noun is not necessary. You need to have one noun. You're looking at something that is necessary. Take any vegetable, put some spices in it, and you have a dish. Okay, you have got the vegetable and spices would be probably necessary for a dish. So the best answer choice here is 4. This might be one of the sentences which would have confused you. If that would have happened, there is no shame in just leaving the question and moving to the next one. So it might happen for this particular question. This would have been a pick me. You're saying that this makes more sense to me than answer choice number 1. I can't explain it to myself, but for some reason 4 is making more sense to me. Now don't try to explain it to yourself that point in time. If let's say 4 makes slightly more sense to one, you don't know why, but it makes sense to you, you mark it. Sometimes what happens, we sit and analyze, think a lot, and then unnecessary waste time, you mark it and move on. Question number 4. Which one of the following statement, if false, could be seen as supporting? So this is a weird way of phrasing the sentence. So this is, let's do if true, which is as not supporting. Okay, if true, not supporting. So basically we are looking at answer choice which attacks the author's position, right? It has been observed the writers sometimes disregard the rule of lettering. There's no problem. This is something that has been supported by the passage. Sometimes it's allowed, unless of course you know you're doing well. Perish the thought that complete sentences necessarily needs noun and dot. Perish the thought. They're saying that you must perish the thought. Forget about the fact that complete sentence necessarily needs nouns and verbs. This is directly attacking author's position because author says that nouns and verbs are too indispensable. We cannot do without them. Now, if you are asking to perish that thought, which means forget that thought, then obviously that will be attacking the author. There will be answer choice to this question would be 2. Regarding grammar, women writers tend to be more attentive to method, but irrelevant to it. Even if it's true, it does nothing. It's kind of, I don't know whether it supports what the author is saying, whether it attacks what the author is saying, that you're looking at, ignore it. And understanding grammar helps a writer decide he is writing well. And of course, it's going to support what the author is saying. If false is supporting, which means if true, it is not supporting. The one that supports the least in the sense is answer choice number 2. All of the following can be inferred from the passage except. So if you have questions like these, you know that you don't know where this information is given. What you want to do is just read the 4 sentences, hope that you'll remember things. Either it will be a ditch me or a pick me one. And if that does not happen, just skip and move to the next question. Unless of course otherwise you'll have to sit and evaluate every single sentence. It's not worth it. But usually what happens, but don't skip this question just because the question is framed in this particular manner. Read the options. Except, so we have to obviously look at that one is not aligned to what is mentioned in the passage. Sentences do not always have to be complete, which is fine so long as you can break the rule, so long as you're doing well. This is not something that it goes against what is mentioned in the passage. We can eliminate that. We're looking at except. The primary purpose. First of all, the word primary itself is problematic. Primary purpose of grammar is to ensure the sentence remains simple. Sentence should not remain simple, but don't have simple sentences in a row. This is your answer, right? The subject predicate relation is the same as noun verb relation, which is okay. I think somewhere here author is mentioned with the bracket, subject predicate here, subject noun predicate verb. There you go. Okay, that's mentioned. Grammar police is a metaphor for critics who focus on linguistic rules. Fine. Grammar police, I think this is something that people know in general. Grammar police aren't going to come and take you away, which is in the context of saying that should you have make complete sentence every time? Perish the thought. No need. If your work consists only a fragment of clauses, grammar police will not. Grammar police would be someone who metaphor critics who focus on linguistic rule. Now in these 5 questions, there would be probably, you can easily take away about 9 marks. It's also possible to get about 12 marks as well. The question is, did you get stuck in any of these questions? There is no shame in getting 9 marks. There is no shame. But if you miss simple question, that'll be a problem. And if you got -1 mark in a difficult question, that's also a problem, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this made sense. Let me know if you need more help and more such videos. But tell me in the comment box. I will address those things. All right. Bye.